The hybrid sitting of the House will now begin. Some members are here in the chamber, others are participating remotely, but all members will be treated equally. All questions will now commence. Please can those asking supplementary questions keep them short and confined to just 2 points. And I ask that Ministers' answers are also brief. I call Lord Roberts of Llandudno to ask the first oral question.
Will the Minister join me in urging a beverage-scale programme to make affordable homes a reality?
My Lords, I think it would be better to ask permission to put the question standing in your name on the order paper.
I beg leave to put the question in my name on the order paper.
My Lords, I point to my residential and commercial interests as set out in the register. The Government is committed in supporting the supply of new homes, delivering around 244,000 last year, the highest in over 30 years. We're bringing forward an ambitious near £20 billion investment, including over £12 billion in affordable housing over 5 years and over £7 billion to both unlock new land through the provision of infrastructure and also diversify the market through our National Home Building Fund. Alongside our reforms to the planning system, this will deliver the new homes the country needs.
Lord Roberts now.
While I welcome what has been done, but will the Minister agree with me that we need something on a much larger scale, a beverage scale programme for new housing, affordable housing, and also provide the jobs needed that possibly those who have lost their jobs because of the pandemic can take up. And also, can I suggest that we just have one job for this Minister, a Minister of Housing at cabinet level, and also that they be cooperating with the Ministers of Housing in Belfast, in Edinburgh and in Cardiff. I hope that he will agree with that and help us to put it into operation.
My Lords, I point out that housing is a devolved matter. I'm not looking to tie the hands of the Prime Minister around how he prioritises housing, but I would point out that we need to be very clear about the levers that the Government has to deliver more housing, and the most important of that is the investment in infrastructure and the very substantial £12 billion commitment to affordable homes.
The Lord Archbishop of Canterbury.
My Lords, I declare interests in various church land through non-financial interests in various church land through numerous charities of which I'm a member, and an interest in the church. We're publishing a Housing, Church and Communities report in February. Would the Noble Lord the Minister please tell us what criteria does Her Majesty's Government use to define affordable housing, and is it genuinely affordable in the sense that most people would use the word?
The definition of affordable that we use is taxpayer subsidised housing, and of course that goes towards council and housing association social housing, but also importantly the housing that takes you on a pathway to home ownership, so intermediate housing that is also discounted by the taxpayer.
Baroness Neville-Rolfe.
My Lords, home ownership is a huge contributor to a prosperous and contented society, and I'm glad to see the Ministers focus on this. But what gross number of new homes were built last year? I'm not sure of the basis of the 244,000 figure the Minister mentioned. And how many were in existing buildings, such as pubs or offices or shops?
My Lords, the answer to that question is that for the gross additional dwellings is 252,790, and that is obtained by adding 243,770 net additional dwellings to 9,000 demolitions, and 26,930 gains were made through change of use.
Lord Best.
First, may I congratulate the Most Reverend Primate, the Archbishop of Canterbury, on his appointment of a Church of England bishop for housing, a most helpful move. Would the noble Lord the Minister agree that now is the time to accept Sir Oliver Letwin's excellent recommendations to get more homes built by ending our dependence on the oligopoly of major house builders who corner the land market and build out at a speed that suits themselves, and instead capture the land value through local authorities and ensure the building simultaneously of a variety of new homes, social housing, retirement housing, etc., for every major site?
My Lords, there's a great deal of sense in that question, and I point out that the proposals to revise the National Planning Policy Framework make it clear that sites for substantial development should seek to include a variety of development types by different builders.
Baroness Bakewell.
My Lords, many charitable housing providers, such as almshouses, of which I'm an ambassador, are very small and not included in the regulated social housing providers. So will the government review section 106 of the planning guidance to extend its benefits and allow almshouses and other charitable providers to extend their housing provision?
The use of Section 106 is a very important driver of the delivery of affordable housing, and I'll take away that point and respond in writing, if I may.
Lord Hussain.
My Lord, I'm sure the Minister is aware of many local authorities like Luton, my hometown, who don't have much building land within their own boundaries, and their housing waiting lists continue to run into thousands. In order to meet the local needs, can he tell us what plan the government has to help such local authorities to acquire land from neighbouring councils to build much needed affordable social housings?
Well, my Lords, I've pointed out that there's a substantial amount of money, £12 billion, of which £11.2 billion is towards the Affordable Homes Programme. But in addition, we've announced a new fund, a £7.1 billion fund that's precisely designed to help with land acquisition and deal with the requisite infrastructure to enable the housing that the noble Lord describes.
Lord Moylan.
My Lord, small and medium house builders who built most of the existing housing stock have practically ceased to exist in the last few decades, in part because of the cost, time and risk involved in obtaining planning permission. Would my noble friend agree that there is a case for exempting small builders operating on developing small sites from the need for planning permission, subject only to a pre-published design code?
My Lords, my noble friend is right that we're seeing the level of planning regulation deters small builders, and it's important that the government, as part of its reform of the planning system, takes that into account and finds ways to enable to, let's say, level up the field to let these small players participate in the market and therefore deliver on the small sites, the new homes that this country needs.
Baroness Wilcox of Newport.
I speak as a Vice President of the LGA. With government targets continuously missed, the last time anywhere near 300,000 homes a year were built, councils contributed more than 40% of them. So the only way the government can get back to building at this scale again is by supporting councils to build homes. What steps, therefore, is the government taking to help local authorities build the homes they need to build?
My Lords, I think achieving the highest house building target in over 30 years is a credible achievement. No doubt that the 300,000 target is going to be stretching, particularly in the light of this national COVID emergency, and we will rely and support councils to build, and we've released the constraints in terms of local authority finance and the ability to borrow, as well as provided a huge £12.2 billion programme for affordable house building.
Lord Green of Deddington.
My Lords, these questions have been focused entirely on the supply of housing. But the future demand for housing is surely a key aspect. Is the noble Lord the Minister aware of the latest ONS household projections for England? They show that over the next 20 years, just over half the extra homes needed for our projected population growth would be a result of immigration. That is nearly 300 new homes every day. Surely we need action on demand as well as on supply.
My Lords, it is important that we think about both demand and the supply of homes, but it's also important that we do attract the global talent around the world to this country, and it's about getting that right. But I'm not the Minister for Immigration Policy.
Baroness Eaton.
My Lords, more than 1 million homes that have been given planning permission over the last decade are yet to be built. Does my noble friend agree that for the government to meet its aspirations on numbers of new homes being built, giving councils tools to encourage developers to build on sites with permission would enable building in a swift and timely manner?
Yeah, my noble friend will know that the government wants to see new homes built faster and to a higher quality standard. Our planning white paper proposes to introduce more speed and certainty into the planning system through the granting of automatic outline consents for growth areas. And this will ensure that developers, authorities and communities can have greater clarity at an early stage of the process and reduce unnecessary delays as those developments progress.
My Lords, the time allowed for this question has